According to scientists, a black hole is the most chaotic place in the entire universe. A wrecking ball of gravitational forces destroying anything and anyone in their path, leaving a wake of destruction on the other side, just like a Le Mans Ultimate driver crashing through the entire grid into turn 1 in hopes of beating all the guys that just beat them in the qualifying. Nobody is safe from their destruction, and after 160 hours on the grid at Le Mans Ultimate, 100 races, 4 podiums, countless intentional pit maneuvers, I was starting to think I would never reach silver driver status. For every step forward, there's been like 2 steps back. For every clean race I've ran, I've probably been run off the track or crashed into a handful of times. It seems like the more cautious I get, the more reckless the guy behind me gets. It's almost like these drivers are allergic to alternate lines, or at the very least, they just aren't in control enough of their cars to make a clean pass. And for the most part, there wasn't really anything I could do about it, other than let the guy with the broken car on my back pass and just pray to the gods of the GT3s that he doesn't crash into me while he takes my position. That is, until now. In an attempt to curb the bad behavior and kneecap the terrible drivers on the grid, Le Mans Ultimate developers implemented a driver label system. This new system allows you some insight into what kind of driver the car in front of you is being piloted by. Not only is the driver label system new, but the sneaky 397 team actually implemented this system on the DL without warning in hopes of catching these reckless drivers with their pants down. And catch them off guard, they did. On day 1 of implementation, drivers logged on to find their shiny new driver labels next to their names. You were either a rookie, a good driver, a trusted racer, or for those people who've been feeling entitled to the inside of every corner, bumping faster cars off of chicanes in hopes of stealing their positions, a warning appeared meaning these drivers are responsible for the most racing incidents on the service. Many drivers were quick to place blame anywhere it might stick, voicing their disbelief on the driver label bestowed upon them, posting to Reddit about how unfair the new system is, while the 24-hour bans kept rolling in. Very few of these drivers were ready to be accountable for their driving and accept the fate that they've been given, while others had to realize they might be fast sometimes, but they still need to take a deep, hard look at their racing habits. When I first heard about the system and how it was going to be implemented, taking your last 10 races and giving you a driver score off your performance, I felt like I was in a decent position to at least receive the good driver label, because I always try to race clean in every race. That said, I had just been pitted off track at Fuji the night prior, so I wasn't 100% certain my behavior was going to make the cut. To my delight, when I logged in on day 1, I was given the good driver stamp of approval, the blue thumbs up. I immediately hopped into practice at the new track Paul Ricard circuit and started lapping some different cars to get a feel for the track and the new update. Once I was doing clean laps, I registered for a race in GT3 class and I hit the grid. In qualifying, I encountered a bug and the force feedback stopped working. I limped the Z06 around the track like an old lady on a Sunday drive, and I still managed to qualify in 19th position, right smack dab in the middle of the grid. When the race started, I had a great first lap, cars crashing everywhere you look. The rookies in the new prototype cars unable to control the unwieldy Giannetta G61, causing carnage at every turn. I immediately started cutting away at the pack in front of me, and in just 2 laps, I was in 6th place with no one in my rear view. That is, until my cat decided the race was going too good. The cat knocks my keyboard onto the ground, making the triple screens go dark, cutting off the engine sound. I slam the door shut, and just then, the screens turn back on. The view on the screens, my Z06 resting against the wall at T2, heavily damaged, sitting now in P24. After limping my car back to the pits, the car was automatically placed on a 45-degree angle when the tires got put on, just in time for a prototype car in the slow lane to crash right into my freshly fixed Corvette. I limped the car around the track again for another lap, desperately trying to avoid any and all contact from the unwieldy prototypes and their inexperienced drivers, getting rear-ended and bullied for the entire race. Obviously, I wanted redemption, so I did what any sane person would do. I hopped back in the next race at Paul Ricard circuit in the Z06, and with the force feedback working this time, I managed to qualify much better. When the race starts, to my dismay, the force feedback is not working again. I limp the car around the track as best I can, desperately trying to salvage the remaining safety rating that I have left. After countless bumps and scrapes, a couple of mixed tire mishaps, a stop-and-go penalty for speeding in the pits, and a drive-through penalty for track limits entering the pits, I managed to finish. And just then, a warning pops up from race control. No! Your driver label has been changed to reflect the amount of race incidents you were a part of. The dreaded warning label, warning other drivers that I am in fact not as safe to drive around as one might hope. I wish I could say that I purposely went to the depths of the warning lobby hell just to make this video for my channel, but that wouldn't be truthful. From the highs of getting 4th at Algarve in the highest split that I had ever raced in, and a message from the engineer letting me know that even getting top 10 in the split is nothing to shake a stick at, I was now at rock bottom. The bottom split, chock full of miscreants and terrible drivers with warning labels as far as the eye can see. Warning label hell. And you might think calling bottom split hell is an exaggeration, but I promise you, the level of recklessness, incompetence, and entitlement in this hellscape is no exaggeration. If you've never seen a car literally flip end over end after crashing into a wall, then you've never experienced the bottom split in LMU full warning label hell. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I managed to claw my way out of warning jail and back into good graces, because it was a lot easier than you'd expect. I'm also going to show you how easy it is to fall back into warning label jail, because it's easier than you'd expect too, with some reports that a single race will turn your trusted race badge into a warning badge, and I can attest to this, because after crawling out, I managed to slide right back in. You guessed it, Paul Ricard in the prototype. In this video, I'm going to show you how I managed to get out of warning hell the first time, what put me back in, and how easy it was to get out again. For the people who act like the system is broken, and to the people who just can't seem to get out of this hellhole. Truth is, you might need to take a hard look at how you've been driving. Risk Management 101. Warning label hell, aka the warning label lobby in Le Mans Ultimate. If you think that you can't get out, if you think that it's impossible to get out and you've been trying and you just can't get out, it's just way too hard, it's impossible, they say. Well, I'm here to prove you wrong. This is 4 races to get out of Le Mans Ultimate warning label hell. The first thing I did when receiving the warning label was instantly try and get rid of it by entering a race at Portimao and driving as clean as I possibly could. I actually had a really great race too, so much so that I actually thought this was a regular lobby and not a warning label from hell lobby until I checked the dates and I found out that it in fact was. So that's me in the red McLaren, and at the first hairpin of this race, a Porsche spins out right in front of me and I managed to just barely miss him. And then at the next hairpin, McLaren goes in for a dive bomb on me and I close the gap just in time, and on the exit, a Lamborghini spins out and I just barely missed him too, but the McLaren isn't so lucky. And this being my first race in the McLaren since the update, I end up spinning out on top of the hill from releasing the brakes on the apex too fast. And just as I'm recovering, another Ferrari does the exact same thing. I escape a near miss and rejoin the pack without dropping back too many positions, but the Porsche behind him gets caught up in the mess. At this point, I lock into one of the most epic battles I've ever had in Le Mans Ultimate. Shout out to Mo in the pink Lambo, nipping at my heels. He fully takes advantage of my bad exit. Soon after, we both pass the McLaren that had also spun out on top of the hill. Then I get a better exit out of the last corner and I pull on Mo pretty good, but I decide it isn't the right time for the pass. Plus, he's gaining on the yellow Lambo ahead of us, so I just sit back and remain patient. Not to mention that we're so evenly matched that I'm just having an absolute blast racing against him at this point. And I'm sitting in 9th place too, which is pretty good. We encounter a Ferrari up ahead that Mo makes quick work of. I'm pretty sure he's a lap down, and the pressure gets to him, causing him to spin, leaving me to battle with the pink Lambo once again. I'm pretty sure Mo is trying to capitalize on the gap at this point, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch him spin out at the bottom of the hairpin. I manage to catch up to him just as he takes off, and we're side by side, but I have half a car length on him, and he gives me the position at the top of the hill. Bumper to bumper, we barrel around a few corners with the yellow Lambo within reach. At the top of the hill, Mo gets the perfect line, and he's out trail braking me. He sneaks by with surgical-like precision as I get a bit wide, struggling to rein it in. But now with my outside line, I have a better entry into the next exit, and I follow him down the hill, drafting his bumper through the last corner and decide to play it safe. We both go wide through the first corner, and into the downhill hairpin, Mo brakes a tad late, and I manage to snag the inside line. We're neck and neck up the hill, but Mo gives me the position on entry. Mo makes up some ground into the dip and has way more speed going into the next corner, almost having to go wide to avoid hitting me. Down the next hill, we're bumper to bumper with our sights squarely on the yellow Lambo. Trail braking as if my life was on the line, I managed to nail the last corner, and I'm squarely in a position to take the Lambo and get away from Mo. I passed the Lamborghini on the main straight just in time for the braking zone. Well, almost. I go extremely wide on that corner, using all of the green track surface to regain my line, all the while Mo is just nipping at this Lamborghini's bumper. By the next hairpin, the yellow Lamborghini has been replaced in my rearview mirror by the pink one. At this point, I'm able to open up the gap between me and Mo. I'm assuming his tires were getting bad, or he decided just to concede 4th place to me. I'm not really sure. Either way, this is a shining example of how races in Le Mans Ultimate should be raced. The rest of the race, I just kept my focus on doing clean laps until I crossed the finish line. What a race. Mo, props to you. Someone find him, find this man, and show him this video. After dinner, I registered for a race at Monza. This is going to be my first one on the Grand Curve layout. I was pretty quick to figure out that not all the races were going to be as smooth as my first one in the warning label lobbies. That's me in the red Z06. As soon as we get the green flag, I'm on the outside of the first straight, nowhere to go, on the line, and a Ferrari tries to go left and bumps into me. As I cuss and scream, I tell myself, just don't let it happen again, don't let it happen again. As I tear down the first straight at Monza and into the first corner, 2 BMWs end up making contact, sending them both into a smoky, dusty drift. I try to go wide, but the gap closes, and I'm forced to go off track into the gravel, just barely avoiding contact as I blaze through a giant cloud of dust. Take note of the livery on these 2 cars. The one is the same guy who pitted me off of Fuji the night before, and the other one, the blue one, is someone that I've also seen be very reckless in my lobbies prior to the new update. He's also responsible for the worst crash I've ever seen in Le Mans Ultimate, and you're about to see it on the next lap, same corner. After the chicane, I encounter another BMW, and I decide to slow down and let him pass. I felt a dive bomb brewing. On the apex, I spotted a Mustang on my rear view, so I gave him the room to go by as well. It's only lap 1, I just needed to get some heat in the tires and avoid all the mess. As you can see, the Mustang wasn't necessarily faster into the corner, but he was blocking my turn, so I let him go by into the chicane so I could take the good line behind him and avoid the curb. Here's where a valuable lesson can be learned out of this race. As you'll notice, out of the chicane, the 2 cars that make contact happen to be the 2 cars that I just let pass. It happens when the BMW abruptly swerves left, making contact with the Mustang, sending it barely into the wall, nearly taking me out in the process, but I managed to avoid them both. Which brings us back to T1, and you guessed it, the same BMW from lap 1 is again crashing off track into the wall at full speed in spectacular fashion, causing the worst crash that I have ever seen, cartwheeling and flipping into the air like Simone Biles. Punting a movable sign into my path that I easily avoid, but the BMW behind me isn't interested in avoiding anything, and he plows right through it. As I follow him into the chicane, I make a mistake and let off the brakes too fast, sending me into the wall. As I cuss and curse about my mistake, I narrowly avoid getting rear-ended by the red McLaren, but my car has sustained some major damage. As I limp my car back to the pits, I noticed yet another BMW in my rearview mirror. Seems to be the car of choice in the warning lobbies. I alter my line in anticipation of a dive bomb, taking the gravel, just narrowly missing the wall by letting off the brakes at the last second. Then, going into the pits, I nearly crash into the barrier because my steering wheel is completely sideways now. Man, that was way too close for comfort. After a pretty long pit, I drive back onto the track and I instantly notice that I've made a huge rookie mistake. I accidentally added 1 front wet tire. 1. I'm on mixed tires. Through the second chicane, I get a much better exit than this BMW, but I decide to pull off the throttle and let him stay in front, because first, his car choice terrifies me, and second, it looks like it's broken. I take the outside line into the last turn to give the BMW a wide berth just in case he slides into the gravel again, giving the McLaren behind me some time. Which he instantly takes advantage of, drafting me down the entire main straight all the way into turn 1. Since I'm on the mixed tires, I let the McLaren pass right after. A BMW then approached me in the rear view, and I let him pass in the last corner by taking the outside. And then the 3 of us did some clean laps until the BMW had to pit. At this point, the McLaren that I'm following is braking way earlier into corners than me, even on the mixed tires, but in a move of self-preservation, I remained behind him until I had the best exit out of T1. That pass was just in the bag. He fights me the entire straight and finally pulls behind me for T1, drafting my rear bumper. The way the guy's driving is making me really nervous, so I give him the inside, and as soon as he passes me, he clips the grass and starts to swerve to the left, and he blows right through the chicane and just keeps driving through. He lets me pass at the other side of the chicane, I'm assuming because of a warning from race control, which brings me to lesson number 2 of this race. Keep in mind, Einstein here is actually 1 lap up on me because I've already pitted. This guy's fighting me so hard that he is literally crashing through chicanes, and I'm a lap down on him, wrecking his rating for no position. Into the last turn, I go slightly wide on the wet tires, and the McLaren is able to pull on me out of the apex. At this point, I'm not even full throttle because I wanted him to pass. He starts drafting me again. You can see me flashing my lights in hopes that he passes. I even slow down and give him the inside because he's a lap up. It really doesn't make a difference, but I don't think he knows that because if he did, why would he do this? I had to make sure that I wasn't using the same footage from the lap before here. He gets in front of me exactly how he did last lap. He hits the grass, the brakes, he erratically swerves to the left and then he swerves to the right and he crashes right into the wall beside the chicane. So then I pass him again and I finish the rest of the race, P15. It doesn't get much worse than that, so I immediately register for another race at Monza. Okay, race 3. Going into T1, I experienced an odd sense of deja vu where the Merc in front of me slides into the gravel, forcing me to do some evasive maneuvers in order to avoid crashing into him, missing contact by mere inches. As the Merc crashes into the wall backwards, the rest of the grid navigates the first chicane without incident. That is, until the exit, where a pileup involving not 1, but 2 BMWs ends up wreaking havoc on the entire pack in front of me. As a tire rains down on me from the heavens, I manage to avoid all the chaos and find myself in the pack where we begin to do clean laps. I find myself pulling on the BMW in front of me, but for safety reasons I decide to just follow him. And man, was that a good decision. I round turn 1 just in time to see that BMW crashing another car into the wall and wrecking himself. Then after the chicane, I notice another BMW with the same livery dive bombing me on the inside, and I give him space because obviously I don't want to get hit. Because it's practically impossible to avoid all these BMWs. A little while later, I find myself flanked by 2 BMWs with the scary liveries. As the BMW crept up on my rear bumper, there came a time in my head where I decided it's either him or me. So I slowed up a bit, and when he started riding my bumper, I offered up the inside at the last corner to let him pass. He then drafts the McLaren all the way down the main straight until the McLaren gives him the inside line at the corner. The McLaren is driving slower than the corners than I am, so I get a clean pass and I decide to take it, mainly because I'm worried I will rear end him if I don't. For the most part, he's keeping up with me, but on occasion I see him going wide into corners onto the gravel. It's only a matter of time before he pushes too hard, so I'm just gonna focus on my line. And sure enough, a couple laps later, I see him go wide and crash right into the wall in my rear view. I thank him in my chat and I continue on. At this point, I notice that I haven't even had any contact yet, so I start focusing on clean laps and nothing but. A little while later, I find myself between two BMWs again, or as I like to say, between a rock and a hard place. I finished 9th place and I immediately start the next race at Monza again, on a mission to good driver. After having the McLaren pull on the Z06 multiple times in the last race, I decided to go with a different car, the 720S. So that's me in the red McLaren again. As I watched the cars in front of me go 4 wide into T1 and start trading paint with each other, I started to mutter to myself how reckless they were, and then I got out the popcorn. A Merc and a Porsche end up going super wide, narrowly avoiding race-ending crashes, while I do my best to see through the massive cloud of dust and smoke. Then in my rearview mirror, I see the same Porsche crash into the wall right after the chicane, where I find myself knee-deep in orange McLaren. With McLarens as far as the eye can see, I dip to the inside to see the corner because I cannot see through the orange and black to the corner signs. I approach the corner just in time to see a Merc crashing out into the gravel. A Ferrari follows my line on the inside, but doesn't have to slow down for traffic, so he manages to pull right beside me. The only problem is that we're now 3 deep. He clears the McLaren, but unfortunately gives me a little love tap before pulling in behind me. The Ferrari continues to draft my bumper all the way through the chicane, down the last straight, all the way to the first corner, where he slides out. As I watch the 2 McLarens in front of me battling, I focus on my braking point as I watch them miss theirs, driving through the chicane and missing it altogether. And that's probably how they were able to get past the Aston Martin that I found myself trailing a short time later. At some point, I realize that I'm in P4. And then I'm in P3. The nerves start to get to me, and I can hear my girlfriend getting ready for bed. I ask her not to bother me because I'm on the podium, and as soon as I say that, I spin the car. Just telling my girlfriend something was enough to break my concentration. Luckily, I just lose one position to the Austin, and I managed to defend my position from the McLaren. Shortly after that, I let my frustration get the best of me. I do the exact same thing again, only I make a little bit of contact with the wall. The car spins, and by pure luck of the GT3 gods, I don't damage my rear wing, and I get a really good recovery, losing only one position to the McLaren. And speaking of wing damage, the next lap, when approaching on the same corner, I see a Merc without its rear wing. Predicting a slide at the next corner, I slow down slightly just in time to watch him crash off track when he hits the brakes. But the pressure's still on, because I have two cars nipping at my heels. I end up maintaining my position, and then I do a cool down lap in hopes of gaining more safety rating. When I go to the results page, there's a notification saying that my badge represents my driving ability or whatever. Good driver status has been achieved. 4 races, and they weren't even that clean. Alright everybody, that's going to be a wrap. If you are here at the end of the video and you like the content, please consider giving me a like and subscribe, because this was a very tedious video to edit. It took me a lot of work, about 3 days, and I really appreciate the love. I'm Bosco Too Fast. I'll see you on the grid. Peace.